A major winter escalation is underway across the United States, with impacts ranging from intense snow to life-threatening cold. This is shaping up to be a winter pattern that impacts nearly every part of the country over the next 7 days. This is all being driven by an extremely aggressive winter pattern, with multiple Arctic blasts lined up to surge across the country. The first wave will bring significant East Coast snow on Sunday, from Florida to New England, while also opening the door to a much bigger winter storm. As we move later into the week, repeated injections of Arctic air will lock in bitter cold across the central and eastern United States. Wind chills are expected to drop to as much as 40 degrees below zero on Monday. On top of this bitter cold, a distinct temperature boundary will be the fuel for multiple winter storms later this week. As many as 5 distinct snow events could impact the country over the coming days. One of the reasons why our winter is about to get very intense is that we are going to continue to get multiple shots of Arctic air over the next 7 days. It's all because of a very nasty jet stream pattern that we're currently in. Right now, we have a very large dip in our jet stream. This is already bringing lots of cold air all the way down towards the Gulf Coast. This could actually fuel some rare snow in areas like Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. We could actually see some accumulation near areas like Tallahassee, Florida, which is already a pretty rare weather pattern to begin with. What's going to make this even more intense is that as we go into early to mid next week, our jet stream is going to remain angled out of the northwest. It's going to be very stubborn and not really going to want to change a whole lot during the early to middle portion of next week. This is just going to continue to allow for relentless shots of Arctic air over the next 7 days. By the end of January, we could have 5 or 6 different Arctic blasts, which is remarkable because we only have about 14 days left. We could have one Arctic blast every 2 to 3 days. That is how intense this weather pattern is about to get. Eventually, by around Friday and Saturday of next weekend, things will change a little bit because our jet stream is expected to become a little bit more zonal. That does not necessarily mean our weather is going to be fully quiet, though. What's going to happen is that we are going to start to see the possibility of storm systems coming over the Rockies. If we see any storms come over the Rockies during the last week of January, that's going to promote a much better shot of winter storms across the Great Plains, Midwest, and perhaps even as far south as areas like Tennessee and Arkansas. Even then, our weather pattern will still favor at least another Arctic blast or two around the end of the month, because our jet stream is still going to be coming out of Canada. This cold air is not going anywhere. Over the next 7 days, we are going to have several shots of Arctic air. It all begins today and tomorrow, as we are already experiencing that across the Midwest, but it's diving down into the southern plains and the southeast today. This will give the possibility of snow in areas like Texas and Oklahoma, but it will be very light in nature. Just some snow flurries throughout the day, not a whole lot of moisture with this cold air to actually create a winter storm. Tomorrow is a different story because as Arctic air makes its way towards the East Coast, we are expecting the possibility of at least some snow from southern New England, all the way back through Georgia, South Carolina, and even in the Florida Panhandle. We're not expecting significant snow in areas like Georgia, but we could have as much as 1 to 2 inches in some spots. In a lot of areas in the southeast, this is considered a winter storm. Monday and Tuesday will bring another shot of Arctic air across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and eventually through the Northeast. Very cold air is on the horizon for Monday and Tuesday, and that will likely be the coldest air that we see over the next 5 days. By Wednesday and Thursday, that cold air is just going to be cycling up in Canada. We will eventually get another shot of Arctic air by Wednesday and Thursday. By Friday and Saturday, we are going to see even more Arctic air across the northern plains back through the Pacific Northwest. We could end up seeing another pretty big shot of Arctic cold as we get closer to the end of the month. For those living in the northern plains, Midwest, or Ohio Valley, Monday morning we are going to have wind chills as low as 25 to 35 degrees below zero, stretching from Chicago into Minneapolis, Duluth, and also Fargo, North Dakota. It is going to be downright brutal when it comes to our cold temperatures. These are wind chills, but even our actual temperatures are going to be right around or just below 0 degrees. Winds will be very strong, by the way. Wind gusts of 40 to 60 mph will not make it feel pleasant outside. Tuesday morning will be extremely difficult across the Great Lakes, Northeast, and the Midwest. We're talking about really brutal cold once again here all across the northern tier of the country. We are going to continue to see all that cold air just wrapping around in Canada throughout the middle of the week. By Thursday morning, we will have wind chills as low as 80 degrees below zero, back over in parts of central Canada. We could actually see some areas as low as 50 degrees below zero for feel-like temperatures in areas like Minnesota and North Dakota by the end of the week. It is going to be cold pretty much all of the next 7 days in these regions. Over the next 7 days, we are expecting several shots of snow. The first one is going to be today and tomorrow with some snow showers across the Northeast. Most of this is moderate to heavy actually from around Maryland and Washington, D.C. back into New England. We are anticipating at least a few inches of snowfall throughout the daytime today, especially in central New England, including Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont. The big story all week has been the possibility of southeastern snowfall. A very rare event that we could see happen tomorrow, with a lot of moisture coming out of the Gulf and cold air clashing back over in Alabama and Georgia. The big question has been whether we're going to see a major winter storm in the southeast on Sunday. We're not going to be talking about a major winter storm. However, there will likely be a transition from rain to snow. We're going to see a mix of rain and snow initially by Sunday morning across parts of Alabama, even the Florida Panhandle near Pensacola, and back into central Georgia. A lot of this is going to be a mix, meaning that a lot of the snow that does hit the ground will not accumulate. However, during the late morning and early afternoon, it might just get cold enough where some of the snow briefly accumulates in parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and back into North Carolina. Eventually, after lunchtime, that snow is going to move out of the southeast, and we'll have more of a snow event happening from North Carolina back into southern New England. An interesting development is that we could see some snow for the Patriots and Texans playoff game tomorrow. It could actually be a game where we see accumulating snowfall because it's going to be cold enough back up near Foxborough, Massachusetts. From Maryland and eastern Virginia, including Virginia Beach, back towards Cape Cod, we expect some snow throughout the evening hours tomorrow. This will lead to a couple of inches of snow for most areas. Parts of western Massachusetts have a better shot of picking up around 8 to 9 inches of snow over the next 2 days. That comes from the snow today and the snow tomorrow. Lake effect snow is expected to intensify on Monday and Tuesday, especially near areas like Buffalo, New York, where we could have a pretty big snow event. That could lead to 1 to 2 feet in some areas, with some localized locations in New York seeing more than that. In terms of total snowfall accumulation, we're not expecting winter storm criteria in the southeast. However, up to an inch of snow is a possibility in areas like Georgia and back towards Pensacola, Florida. Back over in eastern North Carolina, maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow in a couple of isolated locations. In New England, there's a much better chance of snowfall with some localized spots around 8 to 9 inches of snow possible. Across the board, we're expecting a widespread 2 to 4 inches of snow from this event. Overall, looking at a decent amount of snowfall in New England, but by no means is it record-breaking. Around the end of January, there is a slight risk of heavy snow that goes anywhere from the Midwest into the Ohio Valley and back into the Northeast, even diving down as far south as Arkansas and Tennessee. Confidence is growing that we could see a couple of winter storms in these areas during the last week of January, on top of all the Arctic air. Beyond this weekend, we are expecting a little bit more snow across the Great Lakes Monday into Tuesday. Perhaps some significant lake effect snow in parts of New York. By Wednesday and Thursday, a small clipper system will make its way across the Midwest and the Great Lakes. Not expecting anything too significant, but some snow squalls are possible. By Thursday and Friday, we could have a winter setup across parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, and even Tennessee. This could even impact areas from Dallas-Fort Worth back into central Arkansas, depending on the timing of the system. By Friday and Saturday, there's been a lot of models consistently showing at least some sort of winter storm trying to form right across the Central Plains in the Midwest. We'll definitely see a lot more snow during the last week of January as this intense winter pattern continues.